Hello, this is Mr. Keaton with the last section of Chapter 7 on solving right triangles. To solve all right triangles, we find all the sides, and all the angles. And we've done a lot of stuff recently with some trig functions, specifically these, SOHCAHTOA, sine, cosine, and tangent. And with those, we're able to find the other sides. In this triangle down here, we already have two sides, so we could use the Pythagorean theorem, which we learned very early in this chapter, and solve for the hypotenuse. And I did that, and I got 14.4. I won't go through that and bore you with it. But to find all the angles, we already know this one here is 90, but we need to find one of the other two so we can find the third, because the sum of those three angles will be 180 degrees. We know that also. So if we can find one, we've got the other two. So we can do the sine. We can use trig functions. Sine of q is equal to opposite over hypotenuse. That's so opposite over hypotenuse. So we have 12 over 14.4, which is 0.833. And just like with multiplication, we undo it with division. Addition, we undo with subtraction. Squaring, we undo with square rooting. We can undo sine functions to find out what q is by taking the sine inverse of both sides. Let's clean that up and make a little more room there so it's clearer. So we get the sine inverse of that 0.8333. And that will tell us what q is. And that sine inverse is on your calculator. It's right above the sine button. It says sine to the negative first power. And it undoes sine. And the same thing will apply for cosine and tangents, right above those buttons. So when we press the sine inverse button on our calculator, we get 56.4 degrees. Remember, you must be in degree mode for this. We could do the same thing for r and go sine r is equal to 8 over 14.4, and do the sine inverse, or we could have done cosine. That's probably what we would have done. But I probably would have done, that's just going to be 180. R will be 180 minus 90 minus 56.4. And that looks 146. So it gives us 133 or 33.6 degrees. And that probably would be the easier way, just to subtract them from 180. Moving on, let's go ahead and look at another problem and do this again. We'll talk about a second way to do the same thing. They said find the sine of c. So I could go sine of c is equal to 0.24, and then I could do the sine inverse to undo the sine of both sides. Let's clean that up a bit. 0.24. And we get c equals